I've learned about spirituality so far, specifically from the Power of Now, which I have right here. I've read most of it. I'm on the 8th chapter so far, and it's pretty good. And I've been doing it. I've been implementing in my life so far, and it's been so helpful for me. So freaking helpful. If you want to live a better life, less stress free, more in the present, more just living more exciting and without living like a more active life, living more free life without stress, without your ego, and it's literally has so many benefits, so many benefits. So let me just get straight right into it, right? So as people, right, so let's say this is a person, right? This is my sub drawing of a person, right? And as people, we love to think, right? We have thoughts, whether we like it or not. We have thoughts, right? So this is our thoughts, right? So I'm gonna draw a cloud. This is our thought. So this person is thinking, right? He's thinking about something, right? He's thinking about something. I don't know what he's thinking about, but he's thinking about something, right? And what most people do is that they get absorbed into this thinking. They become the thinker, right? And as unconsciously, if we become the thinker, we start to identify as that, right? So for example, let's say, okay, I'm thinking that I look really good in this shirt, right? I look really good, and I start thinking a lot about it, and I start to unconsciously identify, right? You don't choose this. You unconsciously identify with that if you're constantly thinking about it. If not even if you're constantly thinking about it, if you think about it and start to act on it, you'll consciously identify with this, right? This is what most people do. I call this like the first dimension, right? This is like the first dimension. First dimension. Now, the second dimension, let me get a different color. What most people, this is the second dimension, right? The second dimension is being aware of what's happening right now, right? So let's say, this guy, he's walking, he's doing this thing, and he sees like a cat, right? A cat, I don't know. He sees like a cat, right? So this is a cat. He sees a cat, right? And he looks at the cat, right? He's paying attention to now. This is just being aware. So this person is aware of what's happening, right? This is the second dimension, right? Being aware. This is his eyes, right? This is his eyes. And he's just looking at what's happening. He's just being aware of what's happening, but he's also thinking, right? This is what most people do, right? They think and they also look at what's happening around them or what they're doing, or they're just, they're just being aware of what's happening, right? This is what I call the second dimension, right? What? This is what I call the second dimension. Second dimension is being aware of what's happening around you, being present, right? That's literally what the book is called, The Power of Now, just being present, right? So most people live in these two dimensions, right? The first dimension being the thinker, just being absorbed into your thinking, and also kind of being aware of what's happening, right? Kind of. Because the thing is, if you're absorbed into your thinking, you don't really know, you're not really paying attention to what's happening to you, right? So like, for example, if you've ever been in a stressful incident, and you're like thinking, oh, what the fuck do I do? Like, how do I get out of this? You're not really paying attention to what's happening. You're in your mind. Most of the time, you're in your mind just thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? How do I get out of this situation? How do I get out of it? Right? And you're not really paying attention to what's in front of you. You could be looking at something. I could be looking at you. But if I'm stressed out and I'm in my head, I'm not really paying attention to the details and what's happening right now at this very moment, right? So most people either live in this first dimension, or sometimes if they're good, if they're conscious enough, they'll live in the second. They'll live in both of these dimensions, the first and the second, right? In the second, you preferably want to be here, right? You want to be paying attention to what's happening around you, right? You don't want to be the thinker. The thinker is probably one of the worst ones. The third thing is, which is like the third dimension, is what I like to call it, is the observer. This person observes the thinker. Now this is what I call the third. And if you're able to observe your thinking, not judge it, just observe it, and stay in the present, staying in the present, staying in the present while observing whatever thoughts come without judging them, you will be spiritually enlightened, right? Now this is harder than it seems, right? Like this sounds easy. This sounds pretty easy, right? Like it doesn't sound hard. You observe what you're thinking, you don't judge it, and you just pay attention to what's happening, right? Like it doesn't sound that hard, right? Thing is, it actually is very hard, right? Because the thing is, you have this big enemy. This big enemy will always try to stop you, right? This big enemy will resist you from staying in the present. And we like to call this the ego. The ego. There are a lot of books about the ego. The ego is the enemy, because right now this is a false self that you have created. This is a false self that you've created. And it's made by your past and future. Like it's literally made up by the possessions that you have, the image that you see yourself of, your job, your clothes that you wear, how you grew up. It's literally this false self that you made of yourself, right? This is what we call the ego, right? And this ego, it doesn't want you to be aware of what's happening. It wants to keep existing. It's literally gonna be fighting in your brain like it's so powerful, this ego. And I didn't realize it till I was trying to be conscious and not give in to my thinking, right? Because for example, let me just give you an example of mine, right? A lot of times, right, like I like to justify, if I'm having an argument with my friend, I like to justify that he's in the wrong and I'm right, right? A lot of people do. And I would be really absorbed into that. I'll be thinking a lot, and and it would get to the point where it would physically affect me. Like I did not like these guys. I was like, what the fuck? Like I would literally just did not like them. I was really mad at them. Like I couldn't stand them, and this was my ego. Because I was so absorbed into my thinking. I was always thinking about them. Until I realized, I had to become an observer. I had to just observe them and just stay in the present. When I started staying in the present and started killing my ego, right? The thing is, the ego dies. The ego starts to die when you don't give in to your thinking. When you start to become the observer, the ego starts to die, right? The ego starts to die slowly but surely, right? And when this ego dies, I'm telling you, the limits that which you can do is infinite. I'm telling you, your potential is crazy. Right? And I'm still fighting this. This is something that's, I'm still trying every day, because it's not easy. It sounds easy to be the observer and not give into your thinking, but these subtle thoughts are very quick, right? And you have to be very conscious. It takes a very conscious person to say like a thought will come in, right? Like a repetitive thought that will come in. And these thoughts the thing is, you don't even notice you have these thoughts because they come in so much. You don't even notice them until you meditate a lot and you start to realize, okay, I'm having this thought now, right? And you just observe it, right? Like if you don't notice it, you can never beat it, right? So first step is you have to start noticing it, and how you notice it is by meditating more, right? So you got to meditate more. When you start meditating, you'll notice these thoughts, and it can be and to be honest, meditating, it can be scary for some people. Meditating can be a very scary thing because you're actually opening yourself up to all the pain that you actually have, right? Like you see a lot of people nowadays, why they're very depressed, or they like to indulge in addictions like, video games, drugs, anything it is. You know why they like to do that? It's because it literally hides them from the pain that they're experiencing right now. Like the pain that they feel inside, they don't feel it. It's an escape for them. Right? But when you meditate, you start to open yourself to the pain. You become aware of it, right? You just become aware of the pain. And when you start to become aware of the pain is when it starts to go away, right? You don't have to do anything. You just have to become aware of it. That's mostly it, right? Yeah, that was a big rant. But yeah, this is mostly. If you have any questions, let me know. But this is mostly what I've learned. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments, and I'll be happy to discuss with it further. Peace.